Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Alex and I do arty things. I'm still getting back into the swing of YouTube while in the busiest time of year. Yes, it's Halloween themed, and by the time I post this video, it'll be in November. But I put a lot of work into the art for this video, so dang it, I'm gonna post it. For this video, I'm having a spinning wheel pick a Genshin character and what costume they're wearing. I'm going to use this wheel to pick 3 different Genshin characters, and then we'll use this wheel to see what kind of costume they show up in. For our first character, Yun, and she's showing up as a zombie. Our next character is Sino, and he showed up in a ghost costume. For our final character, we have the Traveler, and they showed up in a ghost. I'm going to spin again because I don't want to draw 2 characters wearing the same costume. In a witch costume. According to the wheel, I'm drawing Lumine as a witch. Is it Lumine or Lumine? Shoot, I need to figure that out. It's Lumine. I've been pronouncing it as Lumine this whole time, but I should have known. Shangyun, I probably butchered that. Shangyun as a zombie, and Sino as a ghost. I've drawn Lumine a few times now, and I feel like a witch costume would be a nice fit for her. Overall, I'm excited about that. As for Shangyun, I'll admit she's a bit of a wild card for me. She's a Genshin character I don't usually think about, like ever, and I've never drawn her before. I'm interested in finding creative ways to showcase her costume since she's out of my usual repertoire. Overall, I think it'll be an interesting mix of styles and vibes, so I'll be experimenting a lot to bring their personalities through in these costumes. I sketched the 3 characters facing in slightly different directions, varying where I placed limbs and poses. For our witchy girl, I faced her towards the audience holding a potion bottle. I traced the bottle to make things easier on myself and then stretched the proportions to fit the picture more. For our ghosty, I posed his hands one below his shoulders and one above his shoulders to have that sort of boo pose that everybody kind of knows. You know, as a kid, you raise your hand and go boo. And for our zombie girl, I just did the classic zombie Minecraft arms. Starting with the center character Lumine, I incorporated elements inspired by gothic Lolita dresses, somewhat in the details. Some puffy sleeves, lots of ruffles, some fishnets, and a big bow. One clever change I made was replacing the metallic gold accessory with a charming bat. I gave her a witchy hat and added a spider design on the bow. I gave it some eyes and then placed the twin symbol onto the design. Additionally, I included plenty of the classic Genshin star shapes throughout her costume. And then to add a layer of depth to the top half of her design, I took the flowers and feathers that usually sit in her hair and placed them onto her witch's hat. Long hair, we meet again. Out of it! I almost spilled my tea. Out of everyone, Shangyun gave me the most trouble. Her pose, costume, expression, everything had some level of challenge that kept throwing me off just slightly. A lot of the details I wanted to include for her would be during the coloring phase. For now, I designed a tattered, ragged, layered outfit with frayed edges to capture the rough, edgy feel of a zombie. To add a playful twist, I replaced her usual hair ornament with a fake axe in her head, along with a few other little elements, bringing her to life. Somewhat. Zombie life, get it? Haha, okay. Finally, Sino. He's a tough one. I think the reason I struggled with him a lot is because I kept thinking about how a werewolf would suit him much better. Things got easier, though, when I imagined him showing up in a ghost costume last minute because he wanted to make a lot of boo puns and ghost puns and all that. Classic Sino. I kept his iconic neck piece and his outfit's dog ears and tried to include both vibes in the overall design. I went with the very typical thin white sheet with lots of different folds that mostly cover his hands with some rips and tatters towards the bottom of the outfit. Okay. It didn't look as ghosty as I wanted, so I crisscrossed 3 lines of chains over his torso, hoping that would do something. I also didn't have the energy to figure out the pants, so I slapped on some jeans and called it a day. Originally, I planned to draw detailed line art, but as I progressed, I quickly realized that I wouldn't have enough time for that, so I focused on cleaning up what I could during the sketching phase. I did keep in mind line thickness and weight as well as where I wanted the focus. I spent more time on those areas and used less caution in the less important areas. The rest, I figured I would try to clean up later. I added the base colors off camera with plenty of tears and frustration. The main issue I dealt with involves Genshin and the bloom effect. The bloom effect is some sort of video game term that I don't quite understand. This is an example of it. I would have to color pick and then adjust it, especially with the skin tones. For the coloring phase, I opted for a vibrant cel-shaded style, mostly because doing rendering takes a lot of time, and I was already probably 5 hours, 6 hours in at this point, and Halloween was like 3 days away. The process was a lot of base colors, shading color, darker shading, and then highlights. I did make sure to keep each character's color scheme in mind. Lumine's colors were a bit more flexible, as she could be any element in the game. So I chose purple as the main color and orange as a detail color to harmonize with the potion bottle a little. For Shhhhhh, I leaned into a palette of turquoise and blue, incorporating some greens to add to the zombie look. As for Cyno, I went with a combination of gold, deep brown, and subtle bluish purples. I shaded Shhhhh first, working from the most important elements like the skin, hair, and outfits, leaving the details for later. For the final details, I made sure to add stitches along her neck to give her a more authentic zombie look. I incorporated a green gradient on her fingers, paired with black nails, which I think added a little bit of an edgy contrast. To further the undead appearance, I tried to create a sunken eyeshadow look and drew a bloody makeup effect on her face and axe. Trying to remember that the goal was not to make them look like the actual monsters, but more like they were in kind of costumes for it. Cyno went incredibly smoothly. I almost couldn't believe it. I had a ton of fun shading in the folds of the sheet and the gold chains and the neck piece. I struggled a lot with Lumine shading. Something just wasn't clicking. I decided the very best way to approach Lumine was having fun and play around with color. So I added lots of different purples and oranges. I shaded the potion bottle to be vibrant with a glow that reflects on the right side of her outfit, our left, and added a blue glow to the bat symbol and the star on her hand. At this point, it was 3 a.m. I was running on nothing but Spite and coffee to finish this project, and completely out of creative energy. I applied a quick gradient of colors over the piece to bring the colors together. I filled in the background with a rich purple and drew in some fun Halloween-themed objects. Think jack-o'-lanterns with a mischievous grin, swirling ghosts, and a few bats flying across the scene. With those final touches, it was a quick bada bing, bada boom, and I was done.